Okay, guys, welcome. It's freezing. I'm outside my porch. I'm supposed to get a bunch of ice and snow today. It's early, about to take my kids to my mom's house. I got to start my work day. But I was doing some testing the other day, and I thought, why not put it in a video? Fuji versus Leica, X-T5 versus M10. And this isn't scientific. There's a lot of flaws in this. There's a lot of problems. But the results are interesting in the fact that if you're somebody that's like, oh, I wish I had, this might help you calm down. So here's what I did. I took the 30mm f1.4 Sigma lens on the X-T5, so a third-party lens that, honestly, these Sigma lenses have been great. We'll talk about that in a future video. And I took the 50mm Summicron on my Leica M10, and I set them to have equivalency, sorry, I'm burping a little bit. I set them to have equivalency and depth of field. And and I moved them throughout the aperture range a little bit, a couple shots. Now, there was some light coming through my window. That's kind of what inspired me to take these photos. And here's what I did, 3 pictures. The first one shot at f2 equivalent depth of field. So wide open on both lenses, 1.4 on the Sigma, it's about f2-ish, and f2 on the Summicron. The 30mm lens I know is a 45mm equivalent. It's a 5mm difference in equivalency in field of view. It's the best I could do. Anyways, I focused on these roses, and I brought these both in RAW files into Capture One and hit the one-click button. Now, I'll put them up, and I won't name them right away. Here they both are. And let me know what you first think. Take a look at them. Okay, the one on the left is the Fuji, the one on the right is the Leica. A couple things that I've noticed, and there'll be a common theme across all this. For one, the colors are a little bit different. Now, that's adjustable, so I won't say too much about that, but it's a common theme across it. You'll notice that the Fuji's a bit warmer. The red roses are actually a bit more of a pinkish, hot pinkish, and then you see in the Leica, they're like really contrasty and bright. I would say neither are reality. Maybe the Leica's closer, but yeah. The second thing you'll notice is the greens on the stems are a little bit different. That's interesting to me as well. You know, with focusing differences being a little different here, I think the Leica was a little bit front focused compared to the Sigma or the Fuji. So you see the out of field element of the green portion is a little different. If that makes sense. But you see the greens are a little different. But what I'll notice here is a common Leica issue that I have is that you see the highlights on the tip of the rose. They're like quickly transitioned to like a hot white or, you know, almost clipping highlight type of look. I can bring that down, I think, and post the information and details there, but something when you shoot a Leica you gotta be really careful of, whereas the Fuji image is just a bit more well-rounded in its color balance. I think that's kind of what makes the Leicas look different. It's also a challenge when you shoot them. So that was the first image. I'll bring up my second image now. Bloop. That was my fake sound effect. And this was shot of that little cactus fruit thing my wife has there. Now this time I shot at f4 equivalent, so f2.8 on the Fuji, f4 on the Leica. A lot of these depths, by the way, were determined by minimum focusing distance of the Leica. Of course, the Fuji can focus a lot closer than what the Leica can, so that's why I shot from this field of view. And it's a similar thing. What you'll notice here is that both images are really, really sharp. Again, the reds are redder on the Leica. You see the clay pot has a bit more red to it than it does in the Fuji image. Again, editable, maybe, probably, but both tons of detail, which is interesting because you're putting like a Leica piece of glass on a full frame sensor that's 24 megapixels versus a third-party $300 lens on a APS-C sensor that's 40 megapixels. Can barely tell the difference. This isn't surprising to me because when I shot Micro Four Thirds and I put like any Olympus Pro glass on there, I always thought the Olympus stuff looked just as good, even not better in most cases because the glass was so good. So that's this. I have to name it. Left is Fuji, right is Leica. And the last shot was a f8 equivalent depth of field, so f5.6-ish on a Fuji and an f8 on the Leica. Shot of the American flag that was frozen on my porch. Hashtag Michigan winters. And, you know, both are extremely sharp. The blues are bluer, the reds are redder on the Leica. The Fuji image is a bit warmer, probably all changeable. And I showed you this because people, you know, does the Leica Summicron 50mm lens have a special rendering when it's wide open? Yeah, I think it does, especially when you have like anything with lights in the background. It has this real cool look to it. But the reality is, you can get really, really great images on third-party lenses on an APS-C sensor body versus the Leica. And I'm not dogging the Leica. I mean, the Leica in itself, it's small, it's full frame, it's compact, it's premium build, it's all that stuff. But then the Fuji, right, like It's weather sealed. The Leica's not. It has IBIS. It has autofocus. It has movie recording capabilities. And so if you're looking to do, you want exposure preview and not have to chimp off the back, Fuji, eye autofocus, all those different things. But the point being is, I think you own a Leica for its feel and its aesthetic, and that rarely makes it the right tool for the job. And when it comes to actual rendering and output, yes, there is something different and small there, but it is small. It is small. I'll say if I threw Zeiss glass on the front of my Leica, I have some old images of the Zeiss glass where that has a different and unique look. Some of the Voigtlander glass I've had has a very different and unique look. I know even some Fuji glass. You know, I've seen pictures of the 80mm macro, the 56 1.2, the 23 1.4. Those have unique renderings as well. So your glass probably is more important than anything else, unless you're going for a certain aesthetic or shooting experience. Anyways, I thought I'd share this with you. What you conclude out of this, I don't freaking know. It's just something I thought that was interesting for people that are maybe have FOMO one way or the other, that like are in Fuji and like, oh, I'm lusting over a Leica or vice versa. I thought I'd share it with you guys. I'll see you next time. Thank you.